Hello, I'm back again. Have you ever heard this saying, you better not go to sleep? Have you? Maybe you've not. You probably haven't heard that one, but I'm sure you've heard this one. You gotta wake up mighty early in the morning to fool me. I know y'all have heard that one. If you're over 40, 45, you've heard that one. Now, let me give some context to what I'm talking about on this one. Thanks so much for coming back and thank you so much for listening. And what we're talking about here is preparing you for your success in business. Now, this is what I've always said. The saying goes, you got to wake up mighty early in the morning to fool me, but I come back with a caveat. I say this, you better not go to sleep, okay? And some of my friends and I know what I mean when I say that, okay? Because people, you say this to people when you think they think that they're deceiving you. Well, I want you to focus on something else. Focus on you deceiving yourself in your business because you can't go to sleep on nothing in your business, as a matter of fact. But we're going to break it down and we're going to talk about exactly why we shouldn't go to sleep at all. So, where we can continue being successful once we start our business, or if you're already in business, once we continue to let that business grow. So, the first thing we need to talk about, this is a good way to assure that your business won't fail if you don't go to sleep on what's yours. Okay, there are plenty things that need to be attended to constantly on a day-to-day basis. So, you have to stay alert, stay educated, stay prepared, and never get complacent on any area in business, anything that you have going on. And I think that's why so many people are really, so many business owners, so many entrepreneurs have some issues in keeping their business growing. And when you making, sometimes when you're making a lot of money, or when you're making money that, you stop watching your numbers, you stop following up when you got a good bit of clients and you've probably reached your goal, and you just think that they're going to be faithful, and you're going to continue to keep that momentum right where it is. But no, you can't go to sleep. You cannot go to sleep on improving, on increasing, on learning new things, changing things in your business, knowing what's going on with your competitors. Any of those things, none of those actually can't be neglected in creating other things to advance. The business doesn't stay the same. Trends happen. The world goes around and around, and things. And while you're sleeping, you can go out of business. And so this is why I'm telling you this. You better not go to sleep. Okay. You're going to hear me say that. And we're going to do a few other videos on different days about you can't go to sleep, not on your business. You can go to sleep you can go to sleep on a relationship, but you better not go to sleep on your business, okay? And then sometimes you shouldn't go to sleep on your relationship, okay? So back to what I was saying. I just had to throw that in. You know, depending too heavily on what you have at hand in business is not going to cut it for you. So, your money that you're making in your business is going to have to keep flowing. And if you've made, you've made a profit, you've got revenue coming into your business, but fail to maintain what you've built, you will have some problems. Okay. And so we don't want that. Now, your revenue is not the same as your profit. Let's talk about that for a few minutes. Your revenue in your business is not the same as your profits, right? Okay. Your revenue is what comes in. Your profit is what after expenses and everything, flowing in your business. And you can have all kind of issues. You may have one or two people on payroll. If you don't have payroll, you may have those normal bills, utility bills. If you're in a brick and mortar, you may have, a lease to a rent to pay, and supplies, other things, other service fees that you may have. Something may happen. You may have an emergency in your business. All of these things need to be dealt with. You need to know, you have to get a total different mindset when you're in business. A total different mindset. I'm going to repeat it one more time. A total different mindset to truly, truly be successful. When I was, when I had my business, my first salon, I really, really, I would be in the salon sometimes, you know, 12 and 1 o'clock at night. I mean, I really, because it was a one, actually, I had, in my salon, I was leasing, someone was doing taxes there. I was leasing a space out because I had a big enough, area where I was able to rent out some, have the, how they said, the extra stream of income. And then I had another room where I would have someone in it for, they were renting in a booth renting in that kind of thing. I had like over a period of time about three or four people that really was over a period of time because one of them moved, her and her husband moved. And then I had someone else to, lease a space here and there. But however, I always had to keep abreast of what's going on. And even before I started the salon, I was doing business consulting back then too. But I really, really took it to another level right during that during that market crash in 2008. So I started doing really strongly doing my business consulting during that time. And so what I'm saying to you is even back then, I in my business, I saw where I couldn't I always had to stay on the pulse of what was going on in the business. And when the market crashed a few years after that, I decided to close that location down, but I opened another location later. Maybe it wasn't a year. It was less than a year later. But however, I knew what I had to do. I didn't go to sleep on my business, so it did not bring me, it did not bring me down. It just, what I'm saying, it didn't bring me down. It didn't catch me by surprise because I was always knowing, keeping my hand on the pulse, looking at the news. I talked to you about trends. I was listening to what was going on in the world to see where was my exit strategy. And that's another reason why you can't go to sleep. If you have to pivot, people, you have to pivot, entrepreneurs, small business owners, CEOs, and the like. You can do it with ease. And this is why I'm telling you, you cannot go to sleep. You can't go to sleep. Sleep is not an option. You better not go to sleep because it's not an option for you. Okay. Now, let's get on to the next thing. Didn't mean to go off on that, but I just wanted to just tell you from experience of what, I was talking about. Okay. Don't go to sleep on your customers. Follow up with them, come up with different strategies and ways that you can keep them engaged. Anything that you have for them, just anything. I know when I was, this is not pertaining to, the business, but it's a good example. Like if you have a type of business that you can give, special things for your employees, or that's why a lot of companies would have the Christmas parties and different award ceremonies. They was keeping the morale up, but then at the same time they were not going to sleep on their businesses. Corporations do know they have, in order to stay in business and in order to be able to maintain and pay your employees, just take care of all of your expenses, you always have to be doing something for your customers or your staff or whatever. Because I'm believing you in the future that you will have a staff in your business. Now, next thing, And this is going to be the last one that we'll talk about. We'll pick up on part two on the next day, okay? But this one here, don't sleep on technology. A lot of you know AI is what's happening now. It's not a buzzword. It is the reality. Technology ain't going to sleep, okay? Technology ain't sleeping on you. You just better keep up, okay? The AI technology advancement. When I was in business years ago, the technology has really, 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 really advanced to a great level. If I had the technology back then when I first started my business as it is now flourishing, there was some heavy lifting that I did not have to do. I had to do then that I wouldn't have to do now. Like when I was marketing for the most part, advertisement was very expensive back then to advertise on, billboards and radios and things of that nature. It was very, very, a little bit more expensive. And it was, I didn't have the budget at the time to do some of the marketing that I needed to do. So I did it the old fashioned way. I did the guerrilla marketing way. Now we have these completely free social media platforms that we can market, and then also come up with strategies and ways that it just will take a little bit of your time. It'll take a little bit of your effort just to do it if you don't have the money right now to do the paid ads. But the paid ads can come later, and they should come at a specific time, but don't go to sleep. You can't go to sleep on your business, period, point blank. And so, with that being said, the technology back then, like I said, it wasn't as advanced, but had it been advanced, it would have definitely been another story for me, because I would have been able to do a lot of the things, like even do more demonstrating, and I could have, just could have done all kind of things to, even back then, it could have been another source of income, just showing different techniques and different styles and things, and just even sitting down doing the business coaching and the business consulting like I'm doing now. I could have been doing it way back then on this kind of platform had it the technology been advanced in. So don't ignore major technology shifts that's coming, in the future, that's coming up. And so that's what I wanted to say about that. And so I didn't want to. I want these to be very short segments. It's about I've gone almost 12 minutes on this one. The other one was about 7, but I wanted to just wanted you to know you better not go to sleep. Okay, you better not, cause I know a lot of you saying you gotta wake up mighty early in the morning to fool me, or you got to wake up mighty early in the morning. But you better not go to sleep, because you're going to miss out on a lot of things now. And like I say, technology is advancing. So you blink your eyes, there's something else that you can probably benefit from. Okay. All right. Well, just remember that you were created for greatness. You have greatness within you. You have what it takes to be any and everything that you so desire to be. And just remember to seek God, or whatever you choose is for your higher power. I choose God. And so I'm speaking of, just allow him to lead and direct and guide your path, because if you don't have anything else, if you lose a man, if you lose a woman, but guess what? You would not lose that purpose that God is giving you. Just remember that purpose is still going to be there waiting on you to do something with it. So, dry your eyes, feel better. It's going to be okay. All righty. Talking from experience. Okay. Just do know that it gets better, because if you're living in purpose, the time will go by, you'll feel better, and your world will change right before your eyes. But just remember, you better not go to sleep. Okay, bye bye.